Are you looking to grow your dental practice and attract top-tier new patients? Discover the potential of digital marketing with a personalized strategy session. Join Lila Stone, the marketing director at Equa, for an exclusive 90-minute consultation. Lila and her team will dedicate 6 hours before your meeting to create a customized marketing plan specifically for your practice. This valuable opportunity is free of charge and comes with no commitments. Visit www.insuranceuntangledorg/MSM to schedule your meeting with Lila today. You'll also receive a free analysis report so you can start transforming your practice through the power of digital marketing.
You are now listening to another episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. Join us in this podcast as we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another amazing, exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. My name is Ben Tuyene, and I'm one of the co-hosts of this podcast that's dedicated towards helping you untangle insurance if that's something that you're dealing with. Today, I have my good friend and co-host Naren with me. I'm going to be interviewing him today. Naren, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ben. And yourself?
Doing wonderful, thank you. I just want to thank you again for the last episode. That episode 2 weeks ago was amazing in the sense of talking about your entrepreneurial journey and giving listeners sort of a sneak peek into how you've been so successful. And the hope is that there's something there that can resonate with those that listen to that. But today we want to shift gears. I like picking Naren's brain as it pertains to marketing concepts because he's one of the best in the industry. So today's topic is 4 dental marketing mistakes that a lot of doctors make and how to avoid them. So here we go. First, Naren, I guess the first question is obvious, which is let's outline those 4 mistakes. Do you mind doing that real quick?
Absolutely. I think, by the way, we did a similar presentation in that event. We did the quarterly seminar. So I know many of you attended it, but probably a lot more haven't. So I just thought it's a good idea to cover the same 4 mistakes that people thought were really useful for them. So the 4 mistakes are, number one is, depending too much on PPO plans. I call it over-reliance on PPO. And we'll get into each one, in more detail. Number 2 is spending too much money on ads. And I'll talk about what we mean by this and where does that make sense, where they don't make sense, and, and what, traps to avoid. The third mistake is ignoring local marketing and SEO. So you are, you're not really dominating, your local market. And of course, you're not dominating SEO. And last one is, not focusing on Google reviews. So those are the 4 big mistakes, Ben. Let's jump right in.
Yes, I love that, Naren. I like the first one that you mentioned, the over-reliance on PPOs, and I'm very, very, very interested to hear what feedback that you have there. So when it comes to over-reliance on PPOs, can you sort of break that down on what that means? How do you get into that cycle of being too reliant on insurance plans?
Yeah, let's kind of talk about a case study here. So there's this one particular dentist that I worked with, even going back to 2010 or something. And at that time, she was making $650,000, working 4.5 days a week. She ran into me at a conference and she was telling me the story, and I said what I do. And she said, okay, currently all my patients come from PPO plans. So maybe I'll try this and see if I can get patients who are not on PPO plans so I don't have to be as reliant on them. So she started hiring us. And within the first year, she started getting 20, 25 new patients a month. And she didn't want to work an extra half a day or a day to take care of these 25 patients a month. So she and her husband was, I met both of them. They are wonderful people. They have an only son in Virginia. And they decided, hey, I'm going to cut the worst PPO plans, the ones who are paying me the least. And she's like, okay, instead of working extra days, I can work the same number of hours by cutting the worst one. She cut the worst one. And then she started replacing those people with the 25 new patients she's getting a month from Google. And the thing that she started noticing is the Google patients are paying full fees. As you know, half of America doesn't have, any kind of, insurance. So they are, of course, going to pay you full fees. And many of them needed a lot of work. So, full mouth reconstructions to, all kinds of dental issues they wanted taken care of. Um, and also there were plans she was not on, and she could say, hey, if you're not on that plan, but we can help you. So come on by, we'll help you get every penny from your insurance plan. Of course, we do a lot more than what insurance covers. So if you want Invisalign or, whatever else, we can also do that. So she started seeing her revenue go up, but the number of days she worked, didn't change. And then
Right.
instead of dropping one plan, she dropped a second plan, a third plan, a fourth plan. And then almost 2.5 years later, I was meeting her and she's like, I'm out of my insurance. I only have one plan that I still with. I think it was Delta Premier or something that was paying her somewhat decent, and everything else was gone. And and I was asking her numbers. She's like, "Oh, I do 1.3 million, and I work 3.5 days." I was just floored. So she doubled her. This is like in my early days in dental marketing, right? So I didn't realize the power of how to build a business without PPO plans. So literally, she's making double the money, and she's working 1 day less. So she went from 4.5 days to 3.5 days. Of course, she was getting a little old at the time, maybe like late 40s, and she had all kinds of health issues because she was killing herself for like 20 years by just doing 4.5, 5 hours of like nonstop insurance work where she was getting paid pennies on the dollar. And she sold her business. And then, of course, the new doctor is still our client of ours. So going back, I guess, 17 years. And of course, they're doing much, much better than now. And again, she's following the same footsteps as my client. So pretty much she completely went fee for service and only high-end patients, big cases. So it's all about working less and, making more. Of course, the team loves it because, they get to spend more time with their patients, and each day they only see a few patients, but these are all like big dollar, like every day they make a lot of money. So everyone is happy. They enjoy their life. They go on vacations. So, I find when you're over reliant on PPO, the problem with PPO is they take away your control. They set your fees. They don't cover the things that the patient really wants, like Invisalign and, crooked teeth or, whatever, right? Broke like implants, like lots of the things that people really want is not covered because supposedly it's not necessary. So you don't want to be you don't want an insurance company controlling healthcare, nor do you want controlling your life because they determine what the patient says yes to and what you can and cannot do. So I find you don't have to go all the way to PPO or a fee for service, but I do find get rid of the worst offenders, the ones who are just abusing you. Start getting people who are paying you 100 cents on the dollar versus you make 60 cents on the dollar for PPO plans. So I think that's a huge mistake you want to avoid. Life is short, right? Before you know it, 5 years, 10 years has gone by, and you don't want to like think back and say, "Oh, I gave the fat cats at the insurance companies, $500,000 a year times 10 years, 5 million. All that money I could have saved, all that money I could have, um, gotten paid full fees and kept it for myself and my team."
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fortunately in the industry today, it seems like there's been more awareness about this over reliance on insurance, right? But I think as we continue to push these topics in terms of that being a mistake, the more the better off the industry will be in terms of how doctors are treated by insurance and how much they get paid. So that was great, Naren. I really appreciate your feedback there. What about the second one here, which is spending way too much money on ads? Tell us what that means and where are they spending that money and why isn't that effective?
Yeah, I think doctors don't go to marketing school, nor do they enjoy marketing. So pretty much they listen to other experts. And ads are easy if you're a marketing company because I don't have to do anything. I collect your money, you give me $1,000, I keep 500 for myself, and I run ads for 500, and I just turn it on. Doesn't cost me any time. So it's a very good way for me to make $500 without doing anything. So of course, all these marketing companies are pushing ads, A, because it's easy, and B, because it's lucrative for them. The challenge is ads. Two problems with ads. People don't trust ads, right? Why? Because the minute they see an ad, they think he's not good. That's why he has to run ads, right? That's how we think. Therefore, like if you look at the cost of an ad patient versus a SEO patient, it's at least 6 times more for an ad patient, Google Ads patient, and for a social media ads patient, it's like at least 10 times more. Makes sense, Ben? So you really have to like spend. Imagine doing it for 1 month. Instead of spending 1,000, you're spending 6,000 or 10,000. Now do it for 12 months. Instead of spending 10,000, you're
Ooh,
doing it for like 60,000 or 100,000, right? It adds up. So that's one reason. And the second reason is there's a lot more problems with conversions and show ups. So, for example, we do track conversion. So, of the new patients who are calling, what percentage are booking? Let's say you're really good and you're converting 85% with SEO. With ads, you will only convert 30% or 40%. Why? The same issue. They don't trust you. So they're looking for
right.
anything. Maybe the person, you know, didn't smile on the phone enough. I don't know. Like they'll find a reason to reject you, right? Or even if they don't reject you because they're polite, they won't show up. So it's more expensive just on basis on number of phone calls coming in versus a CEO. But then it's even more expensive when you start looking at how many of them actually book and how many of them actually show up. So, so the question is, should we not do ads? Obviously, there is a place, time and place, like going to the emergency room. Should you never go to the emergency room? No, absolutely. If you have to go to the emergency room. But the best option is never have to, like, don't put yourself in a position where you have to go to it. Like, for example, heart attacks, right? If you don't take care of yourself and if you don't eat properly and if you don't exercise and run all the tests, yeah, there's a good chance you'll get a heart attack and you'll be in an ambulance going to the emergency room. So yeah, if you have to use it, you use it, but don't put yourself in that position if you can avoid it. So I strongly recommend, of course, everyone can't dream for that, but 5% of you can really dominate Google and do really well with that. So I would recommend if you can get into that, it'll take at least a year or so and a good marketing partner. I would recommend that. I would recommend getting Google reviews, 10 or more Google reviews. And then I know we'll touch more on that later on. So those are things I would recommend. Now, when do you use ads? Let's say you're a startup and instead of spending $1 million to buy 1,000 patients, you might say, I don't mind spending $400 to acquire that same patient through Google Ads. So that might be a case where I might use Google Ads. But still, you need to be really good. Your phone has to be unbelievable phone experience. Your landing pages have to be unbelievable because remember, people are clicking with doubt. So if those landing pages are not amazing, the phone experience is not amazing, they're not going to convert, which means it's going to cost you a lot more money per new patient through ads. So yeah, I would use it for a startup. I might also use it for high value. So for example, implants. If you're going to make $4,000 per patient, you might say, I don't even mind spending $1,000 to get that patient. But then you have to get used to the fact that a lot of no-shows, a lot of people, less conversion. So you just have to get used to it. And of course, still make sure your landing page is amazing, your phone is amazing. So as long as all those things are amazing and the math adds up, then I would use ads. But outside of those two scenarios, I would treat it like emergency room. I won't go there unless really I'm in a big trouble, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I can resonate with that, Naren. When we do advertisements for my business, and I'm not, I'm not a dental practice. I'm not going after patients. We go after dentists, and the dentists are our primary clientele. But it's interesting that when we do advertisements and people come to us because of that advertisement, they're not coming to me because they trust me. They're coming to me because they saw an advertisement, so there's some skepticism. So I do have more challenges earning the trust from people that don't know me, and they're coming to me through some other route, which is why I'm a big believer in this whole concept of creating a marketing system where people come to you because they know you now, they trust you, they've done the research on you, and they become so much better customers, or in this case for you as doctors, so much more better patients, right? Where they're compliant. The case acceptance is probably higher among people that trust you compared to people that don't. So I think you convinced me, Naren, that the advertisements, if it's a mechanism where there's no trust, it's a little bit more difficult to get people to come through the door. What about the next part here? So this is the 1, 2, 3, the fourth one.
I think it's the third one.
The third one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
3 out of 4.
Yes, 3 out of 4.
Thanks. So the next one is ignoring local marketing and search engine optimization. Do you mind spending some time on that too, explaining what that means?
Absolutely. So local marketing is like pretty much many of us know you show up a lot on Google Maps if you are a decent practice and you've done SEO well. So that's what we mean by local marketing. SEO means search engine optimization, which is both you showing up on local maps, for not just for your business name or your name, but for dentist near me, Vinny's 60616. So where people are looking for specific things they need and you show up both on the local maps portion as well as what they call, the regular Google SEO, which is, when you go to google.com and you start typing stuff in, you start showing up, below the map. So that's the regular SEO. So you want to show up not once or twice, but at least 100 or more times. For 100 or more keywords at the very top of Google, whether it's local maps or whether it's Google SEO. And why is that 100 number important? Because if you're ranking at least for 100 or more keywords on page one of Google, that really means you are crushing it, meaning you are in the top 5% of practices that's getting 95% of the free traffic. So it's a great metric to focus on, like how many keywords are you ranking for, and are you really ranking for enough and more keywords to dominate Google? And if you're not ranking for at least 100 or more keywords, that's something you need to work on. Why? Like I alluded to, like Google ads would be 10 times more expensive, 5 to 6 times more expensive than social media ads are 10 times more expensive. So instead of spending 10 grand a month, you can spend 1,000 grand a month, 1 grand a month, right? So you really can save a lot of money. And also because people trust you, it changes the relationship. It's almost like, I meet you, and one option is like someone I trust, like a professor says, hey, Naren, you should talk to Naren. Like a marketing professor you respect says, you need to talk to Naren. He's the best marketing guy I know. You're going to trust me, right? Because the way you met me is very different. Versus I'm running an ad and I'm in front of you and I'm trying to convince you to trust me, right? So Google is like that marketing professor, right? People go to Google looking for answers, and when you show up organically, they trust you. So their outlook is different. The way they think about it is they're giving you the benefit of the doubt. Now it's up to you to screw up. As long as you don't screw up, that trust will continue. They'll become a lifelong patients. They will, bring their family, bring everybody else, and you have this amazing relationship. Versus with ads, they're like, oh, I don't know. They start with this, I don't know, and you don't want that. So I do believe, focusing on SEO is critical if you want to do well long term. If you're selling your practice next year, then I would say don't worry about it, because you may not have enough time to really, get this work for you and benefit the rewards of that for years and years and years. But if you're practicing for anything more than like 3+ years or 5-10 years more, then dominate Google. Do really well with Google.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like what you said there. We when I go out and I speak at conferences, the type of clients, people that do enroll with us or come to us from those conferences, holy smokes. Not only do they trust you, but they love you, but they're ready to spend money with you because they've heard you. They understand what you're all about. I imagine that SEO does the same thing, where people are constantly, on your website reviewing the blog, your articles, your philosophy, things of that nature. So people, because there's familiarity, are more willing to open up their wallet book.
Absolutely.
Let's do the last one. You already mentioned this, Naren, as well as making a reference that you might talk about this a little bit more, but reviews. So that's the fourth mistake, is that practices are not focusing on getting enough or any reviews. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding here. Some people say, I have 200 reviews, I'm done, right? The thing about reviews is it's like you have to keep getting them, because think about it. Let's say you had wonderful reviews 6 months ago, but you don't have, you only have 1 or 2 reviews in the last 6 months. Why should somebody trust you? Maybe you were great once upon a time, but maybe somebody's sick and you guys suck now. So Google thinks the same way. So if you don't get new 5-star reviews every month, Google thinks there's something wrong with this picture. So, maybe used to be good, but not anymore. So which means your rankings will drop. And people are not stupid. When they don't see recent reviews, they again, as humans, the number one motivation we have is to avoid bad things from happening from us. It's not to create a better future. It's to avoid bad things from happening. So they'll use reviews to stop bad things from happening to us. So when you're getting 10 or more 5-star reviews every month, and ideally these are what I call love letter reviews, paragraph reviews, you are set. But not too many people take it seriously and work on it and create a system where every single month they get 10 or more 5-star love letter reviews. So I really think you really need to lean into this. And the beautiful thing is this doesn't cost you a dime. You don't need to, hire somebody to do this. Just do a good job, which you already do. I mean, otherwise you won't be listening to this podcast. You are a great dentist. Now make sure people talk about it. Just encourage them when they're happy to write that review. Set some targets for your teams. And I know I can go into more details, but just focus on getting 10 or more love letter reviews every month. Put a reminder on your calendar on your phone just to remind you to see how many reviews you got. If you're not getting 10 or more, talk to your team, come up with a game plan, and then monitor it every week. So that means every week you're getting 2 to 3 reviews a week. Or make somebody in charge, make them the champion, give them a bonus for achieving that target, have them update you on a weekly basis if you're on track. There's a lot of things you can do, but that's the fourth mistake I see. That's the one thing that you can do today. You don't need to hire somebody. You don't need to do anything. But as a gift, what I would recommend is book a marketing strategy meeting. We'll do a complete review and we'll tell you all the things you need to focus on. The link is insuranceuntangledcom/MSM. Book that marketing strategy meeting and we would love to help you.
Love it. Love it. Check out the show notes for that link there. And, I just want to thank you, Naren, again. This is an amazing episode. 4 mistakes that people dental practices make. And most business owners want to know what not to do, right, or things to avoid. And I think you covered from a marketing perspective, or at least a general marketing perspective for dental practices, 4 things to try to avoid. So thank you again, Naren, for that. That was amazing. And to our listeners, I want to thank you again for joining us on another amazing episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. If you like today's episode, give us some love. Share this with your friends in dentistry on social media or any other platform that you use, and give us some reviews. That'll help other doctors find our platform. And don't forget to check out our website, insuranceuntangledcom. We do have webinars every single quarter, and we'll have promotional details on future webinars that'll be published on that website, as well as the marketing strategy meeting that Naren offered to those. Those of our clients that have done that, and even listeners that have done that, have reported amazing, amazing feedback as it pertains to that generous offer from Naren. So take a look at that, take advantage of that. Until we meet next time, I want to wish all of you the very best of success. Take care, everybody.